Throughout history, oppressed groups have rebelled, rallied for their equality. However, what of those who cannot rebel, who cannot fight back? How shall they achieve equality? Peter Singer, in his piece All Animals Are Equal, argues that animals fit this criteria and that they are just as deserving as equality as humans. While one may see this claim as preposterous, Singer points out that all claims of equality were once seen as preposterous until they just became basic common knowledge. To begin this argument, Singer defines what he means by equality. He does not mean equal treatment in all facets of life for all beings. No one does. No one argues for the rights of men to an abortion because men physically cannot get pregnant and therefore cannot need or have an abortion. So arguing for the right of men to abortions is meaningless. In the same vein, arguing for the rights of animals to vote is meaningless because they do not have the physical or mental ability to vote. So instead, Singer means by equality the equal consideration of any being's desires or needs. However, what is required for something to deserve equality? This is Singer's next point. He begins this by presenting arguments of his interlocutors, some saying that so for something to deserve equality, they must have the capacity of language or the ability to reason or intelligence or etc etc etc. All of these abstract ideas. However, the ability to reason, to speak, to of intelligence among humans is varied. So are we therefore arguing for the unequal equality of humans? Furthermore, the usage of abstract ideas is problematic as practical equality amongst subgroups of humans does not exist. For example, and by practical equality, I mean actual, like they are equal in strength or equal in intelligence. In subgroups of humans, some of these abstract ideas do vary, such as in men and women, there is a difference categorically in strength. And if we do use these abstract ideas, we are giving credence to the racist, the sexist, as again, these differences do exist. So, what does Singer propose as the thing which determines if something deserves equality? He uses the ability to suffer. He does so because it is the bottom line. Everything can suffer. It is not abstract in the slightest. It is innate in life. While one may argue that animals can't suffer, they can't or they cannot suffer as much or what have you, because they cannot verbalize it. Just because that's true, they don't need to be able to speak to show that they suffer. They do still sort of show that they suffer. Furthermore, physically, we can see that humans are not all that different to animals in terms of their nervous system. They have brain soldier squids and centipedes. They have nervous systems that connect to tissue, which are receptors which give feeling. Even more damning is the fact that all animals respond to stimuli, and pain is just a negative response to negative stimuli. Therefore, animals can respond to negative stimuli in a negative sense, which is the same thing as suffering. With all of this said, Singer goes on to explain how we have, as a society, have failed animals. He has called the human race speciesist, meaning we value the needs and desires of humans above all animals, all other beings, including animals. For we can see this in society with how we treat animals, how we allow livestock to suffer because it's profitable to keep them in small cages and feed them food that they're not naturally supposed to eat. We test on them because it's beneficial to us, even if it's not necessarily needed. It's just easier like that. Even further, we have found animals philosophically as we argue for this this treatment of animals. We argue that well, animals cannot reason, therefore it's better to experiment on them because they innately cannot understand what's happening to them and therefore cannot suffer from that. They do not have a family structure, therefore others cannot suffer because of that. However, with this argument, there's an issue because say you needed to kidnap something from a park. Well, that person would argue that kidnapping a random animal is better than a normal human because a human can fear the idea of being kidnapped. They can understand that that's a possibility. Animals can't. They just oh. However, children can't. Some mentally disabled individuals can. So by that argument, it's okay to kidnap them, which is not the case. Ultimately, due to through determining what is needed for someone to deserve equality, Singer includes animals into that criteria because he instead of using abstract ideas, he uses a definitive thing that is period, and it does not vary. And because of that, they deserve equality just as much as all others. Whether or not you believe that is up to you ultimately.